President Trump will get a second chance to shape the U S Supreme Court for many years to come. Today, the longest-serving member on the Supreme Court, Anthony Kennedy, announced he is retiring. The 81-year-old, appointed by President Reagan, is a conservative judge, but had been seen as a key swing vote in many issues. And the next nominee could set up a showdown in the Senate this fall. Fox's Ellison Barber reports.
The stage is set for a fierce battle over the next Supreme Court nominee, and with midterm elections less than 5 months away, Democrats and Republicans alike are already pushing hard for their own timelines.
We have to pick one that's going to be there for 40 years, 45 years. We need intellect. We need so many things.
It's a second chance for President Trump to shape America's highest court, with Justice Kennedy set to retire on July 31st. But this time, the ideological balance of the Supreme Court is at stake. Although a conservative, Justice Kennedy has often been considered the swing vote in key decisions, including ones involving health care, abortions, and same-sex marriage. Republicans are calling for the process to begin sooner rather than later.
We will vote to confirm Justice Kennedy's successor this fall. It's imperative that the president's nominee be considered fairly and not subjected to personal attacks.
But it was just 2 years ago Republicans refused to consider then-President Obama's nomination of Merrick Garland. Now Democrats want to hold them to the same standard.
Our Republican colleagues in the Senate should follow the rule they set in 2016. Not to consider a Supreme Court justice in an election year.
President Trump's head advisor on judges says the timing is different because the White House is not up for grabs.
We have a president. The American people knew who he was going to nominate because he gave him a list. So we should just move forward.
Justice Kennedy was the deciding vote in today's ruling on public sector unions and yesterday's ruling on the travel ban, both 5-4 decisions. In fact, Kennedy has sided with the majority in those 5-4 decisions 83% of the time since 2005. Reporting in Washington, D.C., I'm Ellison Barber, Fox 4 News.
Now, the president already has a list of 25 candidates, 24 judges, and Utah Senator Mike Lee, and has said that he would choose a nominee from that list.
Okay, thank you, Heather. So the new Washington game is guessing the next Supreme Court justice. Heck, it's possible John Browning here may know him or her. John's a successful North Texas attorney, knows Supreme Court politics, and trains federal judges currently sitting on the bench. John, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
All right, let's talk about Anthony Kennedy first, the announcement. Was that a surprise to you? He's in his 80s, but was that coming up? Did you think it was coming up?
A lot of people have been speculating for the last couple of years that Justice Kennedy may be on the verge of announcing this, so it wasn't entirely unexpected.
All right, how would you classify him? He was nominated by President Ronald Reagan, who is thought to be the king of conservatives. I'm not so sure he was thought of as the king of conservatives on the court bench. How did that happen, that he was a Reagan nominee?
Well, actually, he was a very popular nominee.
At the time?
Yeah, and his nomination came after two previous ones. Justice Robert Bork and Justice Douglas Ginsburg failed to succeed in their nomination. So he was viewed as a very palatable candidate, and he was confirmed 97-0. We don't see that anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
97. But I guess in hindsight, he isn't the Scalia type of justice, and never has been.
No, he's been more of a libertarian on the court, sometimes siding with the more traditional conservative wing of the court, but frequently being the swing vote and having a certain flexibility and writing the majority in opinions on issues ranging from abortion to LGBT rights and other issues.
All right, so we're told President Trump has a list of 25 potential candidates. You've been reviewing those. Tell me first, should we get some information based on Neil Gorsuch? Do we know what direction President Trump is leaning? And also talk about originalism and what that means. That's a Gorsuch principle.
Certainly, and Gorsuch was really in the originalist mode, much like Justice Scalia, the man that he replaced. And
that means you interpret the Constitution now as if those writers are here today and what they would think
exactly.
about today's
you look at the original text and what those words meant to the people who articulated them, and interpreting the Constitution in that way. Not trying to, throw in what you think the law ought to be, but what the law actually is.
And Do you think that's the way President Trump will lean? Does that always mean he's the same kind of guy, man or woman will come out of this?
Yeah, he's publicly stated that he, both with Justice Gorsuch, that he wanted someone very much in the Justice Scalia mold, and he definitely wanted to continue that. And so the people on his list reflect that.
Okay, so you know some of these people. Who do you like?
Well, I think
I don't know if it's unfair to say who do you like. Give me a couple who might come at it.
Sure. Well, you know, I'd love to see a Texan on the court.
Okay.
We have my good friend Judge Don Willett, who currently is on the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. He was on Trump's shortlist from a very early stage. He was actually interviewed at the White House for the Gorsuch seat, and you know, he would be great. Of course, I'm biased. You know, he's from the Metroplex. He grew up in Kaufman County.
But you think another one, probably number 2 to Gorsuch, and might be number 1.
Yeah, I think we have to look at a couple very seriously. Brett Kavanaugh, who's a justice on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. He's been there for about 12 years. He's going to have a much longer track record for senators to review. And he has kind of the typical Ivy League pedigree that, you know, senators on the confirmation stage will look for.
Tell me about the taxi driver who you like.
Sure. Well, another great you know, nominee. In fact, a lot of people say he was sort of the runner-up for the Gorsuch position, was Judge Thomas Hardiman. And he's on the Third Circuit. He actually serves with President Trump's sister. And she's been sort of pushing that he's a great guy.
He put himself through law school.
He has a great story.
Driving a taxi.
He doesn't come from an Ivy League background. Comes from a working class background. First one in his family to go to college when he went to Notre Dame. Put himself through law school at Georgetown by driving a cab. Awesome really kind of a working class hero story, and there's a reason why he advanced so highly during the Gorsuch consideration stage.
Great story. We got to end, but I do want to ask you if you think Democrats can slow this down as they want to. You know, Republicans, we know, happened in 2016. Is there a way that Democrats can do that? They want to wait till the next election and maybe get some footing in the Senate.
Well, you know, Justice Sotomayor and Justice Kagan, they both took about 4 months to confirm from nomination onward. So the timing of getting this done before the November elections is very possible. Senator McConnell has publicly stated he's going to do that, going to be pushing for that. And with a 51 to 49 majority and no longer any 60-vote requirement, the Republican-controlled Senate can certainly do it.
Get it done. All right. John Browning, thanks for coming in. Appreciate your insight.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Great to be here.